Imagine this. You're right there, at the entrance to an ancient Egyptian tomb, deep in the Valley of the Kings in Luxor.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to step inside KV-11. This is the final resting place of Ramesses III.
Yeah, and he's often called, the last really great pharaoh of the New Kingdom.
His reign, roughly 1187 to 1155 BC, was, well, it was pretty dramatic.
Definitely. Not calm at all.
Yeah.
You had invasions from these groups called the Sea Peoples. Very mysterious.
Right. And Libyans causing trouble, too. It was a period of major upheaval.
A really challenging time to rule.
And get this, during his time, we have the first ever recorded worker strike in history.
Incredible, isn't it? Plus that whole harem conspiracy plot against him.
Exactly. So exploring this tomb, KV-11, it's more than just looking at a burial site. It's like a window onto this incredibly turbulent time and the pharaoh trying to navigate it all.
Mm-hmm.
Our aim here is to really get a feel for the history, the key features, architecture, art, all the fascinating stuff inside.
And it's quite special because, unlike some tombs discovered much later, this one's actually been open since ancient times.
Yeah, that's a crucial point. It gives us this amazing long connection back to ancient beliefs about the afterlife and just, well, the incredible skill of the artisans back then.
That long history of being open has
Yeah.
really shaped how we understand it, too.
Definitely. And over the centuries, it's picked up a few nicknames.
It has.
You might hear it called Bruce's Tomb. That's after James Bruce, who went in back in 1768 and wrote about it.
Right. His account is one of the earliest modern descriptions we have.
Then there's Harper's Tomb. Why that?
Well, that comes from these really striking paintings inside, showing two blind harpists. Giovanni Belzoni, another early explorer, he actually saw carving a bas-relief of them and called it the Tomb of the Harpists.
So multiple names linked to those musicians.
Exactly. And Bruce's published drawings of them in his travels,
Yeah.
apparently they weren't completely accurate.
Oh, interesting. Maybe hard to draw accurately down there back then.
Could be. Conditions wouldn't have been ideal, I imagine.
Okay, so how did this massive tomb actually get built? It wasn't straightforward, was it?
No, not at all. The work was actually started by Ramesses III's father, Setnox. He was the last king of the 19th dynasty.
But they ran into a problem.
A big one. While digging, they accidentally broke right into the tomb next door, the tomb of Amenmes, KV-10.
Oops. So they had to stop.
Pretty much had to abandon that initial attempt. Just shows how crowded the valley was becoming, Lots of royal burials close together.
So when Ramesses III became pharaoh, he revisited the site.
He did. He decided to restart the tomb construction, but, and this is key, he shifted the angle, changed the axis.
To avoid hitting KV-10 again. Smart.
Yeah, exactly. And the result is, well, it's huge. One of the longest tombs in the whole valley.
How long are we talking? I've seen different numbers.
Yeah, there's a bit of discrepancy. Some sources say around 125 meters. Others go up to maybe 188 meters.
Quite a difference.
It probably depends on exactly what sections they're measuring. Side chambers, overall footprint. But the main takeaway is it's impressively long. A really grand scale.
Suggests a very elaborate journey planned for the afterlife.
Definitely. And the layout reflects that complexity.
Yeah.
You go in through an open entrance,
Okay.
then into corridors. The first one has 2 side chambers branching off.
Right.
But the second corridor, that one has 8 side chambers.
8. Wow.
Yeah. Then you get to this interesting chamber that was basically formed because they had to redirect the corridor, remember, because of that near miss with KV-10.
The course correction chamber.
Kind of, yeah. Then there's a well shaft that wasn't fully cleared out.
Yeah.
After that, a pillared hall.
Getting deeper now?
More corridors.
Yeah.
Then a couple of square-shaped chambers. And finally, you reach the main burial chamber.
The heart of the tomb.
Which itself has 4 side chambers, plus some smaller rooms even beyond that. It's like a whole underground complex.
A palace for eternity.
Pretty much. And a neat detail in those first sections, started by his father, Setnox's name, his cartouche, was originally carved.
Oh, right.
But they later recarved it with Ramesses III's name. Clear evidence of the reuse.
But beyond the structure, it's the decoration that really grabs you, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The colors are incredible, even after all of this time. The walls are just covered in these beautiful, detailed paintings.
They're not just decoration, right? They have deep meaning.
Exactly. They're illustrations and texts from crucial ancient Egyptian funerary books meant to help the pharaoh navigate the afterlife.
Like what texts do we see?
Well, you've got the Litany of Rai, quite prominently. That's a hymn to the sun god. It appears in several corridors near gates.
Okay.
Then there are parts of the Imagewat, or the Amduat, the Book of What is in the Netherworld, that shows the sun's journey through the night, a sort of map for the pharaoh.
Where's that mainly found?
You see excerpts in one of the later corridors, D2, I think. Also, the Book of Gates is very important here.
Right, seen that mentioned a lot.
Yeah, it's prominent in the pillared chamber, the burial chamber. It deals with the different gates or divisions of the underworld the pharaoh has to pass.
Sounds intense. What else?
There are scenes of the opening the mouth ceremony, vital for, bringing the mummy back to life, symbolically.
Restoring the senses for the afterlife.
Precisely. That's near Gate G, Corridor G. And the Book of the Earth is in the burial chamber too, focusing on resurrection themes.
And the famous Book of the Dead.
Oh, yes. Plenty of spells from the Book of the Dead. Found in several places, Corridor C, some side chambers, Corridor G, the burial chamber's side rooms.
And the Book of the Heavenly Cow?
That one's depicted in a side chamber off the burial chamber, JC. It tells the myth of Ra getting fed up with humans and withdrawing.
Wow, so a whole library of sacred texts on the walls.
Essentially, yes. And woven throughout all of this are countless scenes of Rameses III himself making offerings to the gods.
Which gods do we see?
Oh, a huge range. There's Mot, Ta, Nefertum, Geb, Khepri, Thoth, Ra-Harakti, Atum, Osiris, Horus, Anubis, Tasso-Kar Osiris, the composite funerary god, Shu, Onuris. It's like a who's who of the Egyptian pantheon.
Reinforcing his connection to them all.
Absolutely. Vital for his journey.
Now, you mentioned those side chambers off the early corridors. Ba, Blab, PG, CH. They have unique stuff, too.
They do. These show more sort of practical scenes. Food preparation, illustrations of the burial goods, even specific spells from the Book of the Dead visualized.
And this is where we find the harpists.
Yes.
Yeah.
In one of those chambers off the second corridor, that's where you see the famous bas-relief of the two blind harpists, the very scene that gave the tomb one of its names.
Amazing that it captured attention so early on.
It really stands out. Even architectural details are packed with meaning, like the doorway between the second and third corridors.
Yeah.
It's decorated with symbols like the knot of Isis for protection, jed pillars for stability, and ankh signs for life, held by these animal-headed scepters, with scepters signifying power.
Wow, layers upon layers of symbolism.
Everywhere you look. And in the fourth corridor, there's a really powerful scene. Rameses offering incense to Tasso-Kar Osiris, with the goddess Isis standing right behind him.
Protection in the afterlife.
You got it. And the Amduat, that detailed map of the sun god's nightly journey, that also shows up in the fourth corridor.
Providing the pharaoh's own roadmap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you finally reach the burial chamber. 8 big pillars holding up this curved ceiling.
And the king's name.
Inscribed prominently, often within a sun disk shape made by 2 intertwined snakes. All about rebirth and the solar cycle.
Okay, so that was the intended setup. But what actually happened to Ramesses III's burial? Where's the sarcophagus now?
Well, the main outer box, this huge thing made of red quartzite that ended up in the Louvre Museum in Paris.
And the lid.
Took a different journey. The lid is now in the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge, England.
How did they get separated like that?
Giovanni Belzoni, back in the early 19th century, he was involved in removing them. Why they ended up in different places? Well, that's part of the complex history of collecting antiquities back then.
So the burial chamber itself is empty now.
Completely empty. Dark, atmospheric. There's a sign explaining that the finds are scattered in museums, and the mummy itself is now in Cairo.
At the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, right. Moved from the old Egyptian museum.
That's right. And finding his mummy is another story in itself.
It wasn't found in this tomb.
No. It was discovered way back in 1881, hidden in the Deir el-Bahari Royal Cache, DB320.
Why was it hidden there?
To protect it from tomb robbers. During unstable times later in Egyptian history, priests gathered up many royal mummies and hid them together for safety. Rameses III was found inside the massive coffin originally made for Queen Am's Nefertari.
Wow. And modern science has told us more about him too, hasn't it? About how he died.
Yes, this is quite traumatic. CT scans were done on the mummy. They revealed a deep, lethal cut across his throat.
So he was murdered?
It looks almost certain. Assassinated. Which ties right back to those ancient texts mentioning the harem conspiracy.
The plot by Queen Tidy to get her son, Prince Pentuer, on the throne instead.
Exactly. And there's even a theory that Pentuer's mummy, a rather unusual one, might have actually been buried somewhere within Ramses III's own tomb complex, KV-11, though that's still debated.
Incredible. A cold case solved thousands of years later. But the tomb itself, KV-11, hasn't just been left, has it? there's been conservation work.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Thankfully, it's had significant work done over the years, cleaning the beautiful decorations, carefully patching up cracks and damage to the walls.
Protecting it.
Yes, installing glass panels in front of some paintings, adding walkways for visitors, proper lighting.
And that work is ongoing.
It is. There's the Rameses III Publication and Conservation Project, led by Dr. Anki Weber, working since 2011.
What are they focused on?
It's pretty comprehensive. Systematic research, targeted conservation, and eventually publishing a full record of everything in the tomb.
But they've faced problems. I heard about flooding.
Yes, that's been a major issue in the Valley of the Kings generally, and Cave 11 has suffered. Multiple floods over time has caused severe water damage.
How bad?
Bad enough to cause a collapse in the rear section of the tomb and destroy paintings in the areas between Corridor G and Room L. That whole back part is actually closed off to visitors now because of the damage and instability.
That's a shame. Do they know why it was so vulnerable?
Well, the project did geoarchaeological surveys. Turns out the tomb was cut into a layer of limestone. Wall limestone A. That's not great quality. It's quite porous.
Soaks up water easily.
Exactly, which made the flood damage much worse. Those surveys also helped create a more accurate, slightly shorter ground plan for the tomb.
Have they found anything new recently, even though it's been open so long?
Amazingly, yes.
Eh.
Recent digging in some of those side rooms, H&I, uncovered fragments of a rose granite sarcophagus
Wow.
and usheptas, those little servant statues for the afterlife, plus bits of fanials, pottery, and glass. Some pieces seem to be from Rameses III's original burial equipment.
Incredible that anything was left after millennia of access and robbery.
It really is quite extraordinary. Little glimpses of the original splendor.
And structurally, are they doing anything to stop further collapse?
Yes. Crucially, they've installed a large iron support structure inside the burial chamber itself.
Like scaffolding.
Sort of, yeah. A beam construction to hold up the ceiling and prevent it from collapsing. Essential for preserving the tomb long term.
Good to know. So if you're traveling to Luxor, can you visit Cave 11?
Yes, absolutely. It is currently open to the public.
And visiting the Valley of the Kings?
Yeah.
How does that work, generally?
Well, you typically buy a main ticket that gets you entry into 3 tombs of your choice from the ones open on that day.
Okay.
Big thing to remember. Absolutely no photography is allowed inside any of the tombs. That's really strict to protect the paintings from flash damage.
Got it. And opening times?
Usually open from early morning until late afternoon, maybe 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., something like that. But it's always best to double-check the exact hours locally before you go.
Good advice. It sounds like an incredible place to visit.
It truly is. You're literally walking through history.
So wrapping up, the Tomb of Rameses III, Cave 11, it really gives you this incredibly detailed picture of burial practices, religious ideas, art, architecture, all from this really key moment in Egyptian history.
A pivotal time, definitely. The scale, the art, the story of the pharaoh's life, and, well, his death. It's all there.
Yeah, it's just captivating. The size, the decorations, the whole conspiracy story.
It's a convergence point for so much about ancient Egypt.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? This tomb has been open for thousands of years. People have been in and out, robbers, explorers, archaeologists.
Yeah.
You have to ask, what else might still be hidden in there? What secrets could still be waiting inside those walls yet to be found?
It's a tantalizing thought. There's always more to learn, more to discover, even in places we think we know well.
Definitely something to ponder. We really encourage you to look more into the Valley of the Kings and the fascinating reign of Rameses III.